My goodness. Germany is like a clown car. You know, a tiny vehicle where fools keep coming out of and there's no end to it. Apparently now, Merz is saying that renouncing nuclear power was a mistake. And I'm thinking like, okay, who could have predicted this? But more importantly, who is going to pay for it? Because, like, obviously, you know, the average citizen that has environmentalists cutting their electric power during the middle of the winter are paying for it. People that have to pay more for everything, because, like, all the factories that use electricity in Germany now cost more to produce the same stuff, they're paying for it. But any of the politicians, any of the activists, any of the people that were responsible for shutting the nuclear power, are they going to pay for it? See, the interesting thing is, like, if you're a doctor and you give a wrong treatment to a patient, and it turns out that in the long term you're hurting the guy, he's going to sue your motherfucking ass. Like he's going to make sure that you're going to pay for it. But for some reason, when the experts and the scientists and the politicians and all of them are making a decision that is predictable by every single moron that it's going to be bad, when are they going to pay for it? And it's interesting, you know, like they keep making bad decisions, but they still expect to have the same prestige and be taken seriously in the future, and also pretend that this never happened. I want you to imagine for a second that the AFD would have been instead of Angela Merkel in power, right? So, like, you have the AFD in power, and they would have said, you know what, we're going to build this massive gas pipeline from Moscow all the way to Germany. And we're going to shut down our nuclear power so we can import even more from Russia. Because we're going to need a lot of energy. And so we don't want to produce it domestically. We just want to import more and more from Russia. And imagine if, you know, now Merz is in power and he looks back at what the AFD was doing. Wouldn't he call them like, well, those traitor sons of bitches? Like, what was going on there? Like, was there a grift? Were they taking money from Russian NGOs? Like how? In what world was this a sane idea? Well, because it was Angela Merkel, it's kind of like, well, it was an error. You know, it was like a human error. It is what it is. Are they going to do anything about it? No, but they, like, recognize that it was bad. I'm not kidding. Like, I'm reading this, and it's like, well, it was a strategic error. And I'm waiting for, like, and? Like, what are you going to do about it? You gonna do an investigation to see why this error happened? Are you going to try to see which people were lobbying for the German nuclear energy to be destroyed? Were they paid by anyone? Are you going to try to drag any of them in front of the courts? No? Okay, that's fine. You know, it's in the past. Water under the bridge. Are you going to build new nuclear powers? Are you going to do anything new? No. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. Now, here's a little bit of history. You know, and this is my conspiracy theory, which seems to be confirmed based around how people are acting. But Europe has had enough with socialism. Like, the brutality of the Soviet Union, especially on the eastern states, made socialism extremely unpalatable. And so they came up with this environmentalism, which used to be about protecting the trees, caring about the forests, making sure that the air is clean, making sure that sludge doesn't get dumped into the rivers. And they took this ideology and they rebranded. They made it about carbon. The problem is that every single human activity, like literally everything, including farting or breathing, consumes carbon. And so if you're going to have carbon as a sin, well, you can basically tax sin emissions. You can basically have like the new Catholic Church indulgences. And you can tax every single level of human activity, and you can regulate every single level of human activity, and you can bring back socialism, but you're not regulating capital, you're regulating carbon, which is pretty much the same thing. And this is what they're doing. The problem is that if you have nuclear energy, well, that doesn't pollute. It's not as bad. And so you can't regulate it, and it interferes with their plans. And this is why they despise nuclear energy. And of course, there may be nations like Russia that before the war with Ukraine, they wanted to sell energy, And if a nation doesn't produce as much, well, they want to buy more. And so, of course, from the perspective of Russia, they may have had some activists. I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure, there were activists that, for some reason, whenever you build a pipeline with Moscow, they don't protest that, but when you build a nuclear reactor, that's where you find them. And now these are the consequences. And they have to call them out, because it's everyone notices, but if you're going to call them out and no one gets punished, what's the point? If you're going to call them out and you're not going to do anything about it, what's the point? And so the reality is that, well, electricity prices keep going higher and higher and higher, and at some point, factories will have to shut down, or they're going to ask, why are we working here if the electricity is so expensive when we can work somewhere else where the electricity is cheaper? Companies don't care about nationality. What they do care is about profits. And so what's also interesting is that the European Union tried to push this shit. They tried to remove nuclear power from Europe. And what's also fascinating is that a lot of nations initially signed, but then they said, no, hold on a little bit, we're not retarded. France, for example, didn't go with the mental retardation. Even the United Kingdom, which at the time was in the European Union, didn't go with the retardation. Germany, however, did go with the retardation, and what's interesting is that they went with it at the beginning of the war in Ukraine. So not only did they go through COVID, and they see that the energy prices are going up, but they also see that Russia is invading Ukraine, and they also know that, okay, well, now countries are starting to boycott Russia, and there's going to be an energy problem, and they destroy their power plants anyway. This is industrial sabotage. I don't even know how to say. Imagine if your dad took out a baseball bat and started smashing the generator during the middle of the winter when you have power outages. Does that make any sense? No. So, why did they do it? Maybe they discovered fusion. If they discovered fusion and they're now transitioning to more sustainable power because they can create artificial suns, then sure, but it doesn't seem that way. What's more interesting is that environmentalism went from protecting the trees to burning the trees. Germany, during the start of the war of Ukraine, they tried to label burning wood as burning biomass in order to sound in a way so that old people don't get triggered. Because, again, environmentalism, for my dad and for the older generation, means protecting the forests. And so, we're so green now that we're burning down the biomass. Which is fascinating, because I also saw, an environmentalist, a new environmentalist, basically saying, yeah, cow farts are bad, but burning forest is good. It's well, how do you justify it? Well, yeah, because, forests are regeneratable. And it's okay, so, since the Cold War, for decades, scientists didn't figure out that wood can regenerate. All of the environmentalism ideology that used to be protecting the forest. That they actually banned paper bags. Do you guys remember that? I remember that. You go to a supermarket, and supermarkets wouldn't sell you paper bags anymore because it's polluting. They would force you to buy plastic bags. And now it's literally the opposite. Now they try to push for the other way around. And it's the same with forks, right? If you buy forks from McDonald's or straws, they sell paper straw. They sell paper straws, and they say they sell wooden forks rather than selling plastic ones. Literally the same scientists, right? Changing their mind every now and then, affecting the economy is their playground. But still, right? People are upset about this. Let me know what you guys think.